So I may have screwed up and not recorded yesterday's meeting or presentation, but we're going to roll through this. I'll try to keep it pretty much the exact same as I did with you guys that showed up last night. So today we're going to roll through training like an athlete. So football players love to be in the gym, love to lift weights, but that's not always the best to be training like an athlete. Obviously, we need to be strong, but there's a whole bunch of other components. So just to give you a little bit of background about me. So I'm a strength conditioning coach. I've been doing this for 10 plus years now. I also compete in the sport of skeleton for Team Canada. It's an Olympic sport. Essentially, I slide down an ice hill head first, similar to bobsled. So my specialty is working on developing speed and coordination for athletes to help them get to the next level. So I've worked with athletes from grassroots. So the youngest athlete I've worked with, he was 6 when he started with me. And I've worked with professional athletes before. Worked with professional football players. I've worked with professional volleyball players, all different kinds of sports. My goal personally is to help as many athletes as I can get to that university or college level, and then from there get them to that professional level. So, how most football players train. When I see football players in the gym, I see it on Instagram with the guys that I start working with. Everybody's more concerned about the weight on the bar and less about how they're moving it. So this is going to be a constant theme throughout this whole presentation. But it's a big issue if you're only focused on how much weight is on the bar. I've seen kids do a 3-plate squat, but it's useless for them on the field. So you go into a squat, as soon as you go to come up, your back folds and you wave through. That's a waste of your fucking time. It's not efficient. It's not powerful. It's not going to help you on the field. So great, you hit 315, but what's it going to do for you? Another big issue is typically athletes are training in that bodybuilder style lifting. So they're focused on their chest day, their back day, their leg day, their arm day, whatever. That's not the type of training that's going to help you on the field. That training will make you look better, but it's not going to help you perform better. So we want to train full body, and you should be seeing this if you're doing those workouts, is we're doing more full body work, because when you step on the field, the body moves together. It's not isolated. You're not just moving an arm at a time. You're not just doing legs at the same time. Like the body has to move together. You have to have that coordination. So then another issue is they either don't or they don't know how to train agility, speed, or change of direction. If you're strong as shit, that's awesome. If you can't move, it's useless. Okay? Even if you're an O lineman or D lineman, if you're a big guy, you need to be able to move to be able to put yourself in a better position. Okay? Slow guys don't get on the field. If you're not on the field, you're not going to get that scholarship. Another thing is they focused on slow, long cardio instead of what the sport demands. So you need to be focused on what you need for your sport. So going for a 10K run, especially you big guys, isn't going to be beneficial. It's not going to help you. There is a point where we need to develop that longer cardio, but as we get close to the season, we need to focus on that 10 to 15 seconds, 20 seconds of effort at full speed and with an appropriate amount of rest. So like 40 seconds to a minute, simulating that game. Okay. So what does training like an athlete actually mean? So first thing is it depends. Training like an athlete depends on your sport and your needs. So we're looking at football players, and each position is going to have different needs. So you're going to have different aspects of that. Linemen are going to need a little bit more strength, whereas a receiver is going to need a little bit more speed. Linebackers and running backs are more that change of direction, that quick first step. DBs need to be able to react quickly. We want to have a whole body focus in the training session. So that's doing your squats, doing your deadlifts, Olympic lifting. If you've been taught that, is super beneficial because it uses your whole body. You're transferring force from the lower body to the upper body. You're just working on coordination, which means you're going to be moving better on the field. There's also an element of speed, explosive power, and body control. Okay. So when we're looking in the weight room, we want to make sure that we're moving explosively. We want to move that weight fast to get that speed. And then we also want to have those speed sessions outside of there, those plyo sessions, working on building that power. So we're being explosive, doing stuff like standing broad jump here, getting that speed work like these bucket switches. And then that's going to include those dynamic sessions. So we're looking at speed, power, change of direction, some conditioning stuff, all on top of just being in the weight room. So training like an athlete is not just in the weight room. And it's not all about the weight. It's about how you move the weight. So you have a 300-pound bench press. Sick. How is that going to help you if you're not moving explosively? You can do a 600-pound deadlift, but your back rounds, you pull through the back, you're not using your legs, you're not using your hips. How is that going to help you on the field? Focus on coordination and how you're moving. I'd rather see an athlete put up 4 good solid reps of 225 than one shitty rep at 315. It's not going to translate. Focus on what's going to translate on the field. The weight room is a tool for you to be a better football player. So what does training like an athlete look like? So we're focusing on being explosive. We're moving that weight with a purpose. We're not just in the gym lifting shit up, putting it back down. We're trying to be explosive. We're trying to move faster. We're trying to be dynamic. We're trying to be better athletes. And then we're combining lifts with dynamic movements. If you've been doing the programs, doing the sessions, you see that we do like a squat with the squat jumps. And then you need to incorporate cardio specific to your sport. So as a football player, that's like that 10 to 20 seconds. Very rarely is there going to be a play that's 20 seconds long. So that 10 to 20 seconds max intensity, followed by a 40 to 60-second rest, just similar to like a play. So you run your play, and then you have 40 seconds on the play clock. You go to the huddle, blah, blah, blah. So that 10-second hard effort followed by that 40 to 60 seconds rest is what's going to help you perform better on the field. And if you can dial in that conditioning, you're going to be able to recover faster, which means that on those long drives, you're staying fresher. When you hit the fourth quarter, you're still feeling better than the other team if you're training properly. So rolling through an example session. So we're looking at a squat and a squat jump. Okay. Very similar movements. One's super loaded, one's lightly loaded to focus on more speed. So we have the power and the strength in the one exercise and the speed and the explosive movement in the other exercise. Deadlift, box jump, same thing. We load up the deadlift, you're getting strong, we're still moving explosively. And then you go into the box jump, it's super light. You should be feeling bouncy. An example for upper body, half kneeling shoulder press and a plyo push-up, or a bench press and a plyo push-up. So you're loaded up, building that stability, and then you go into that explosive power. And then for conditioning, something like a shuttle sprint. So 10-yard shuttle, 10 seconds off, 10 seconds on, 60 seconds rest. So what are my sport demands as a football player? Once again, it depends on the position. All the positions are going to have similar demands, just different focuses. Okay. So as an athlete in general, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. They're all going to be similar demands. It's just in different proportions. So if we're looking at skill position players, speed and change of direction are going to be top of the two things that you need to work on. So as a receiver, as a DB, as a running back, as a linebacker, your speed and your change of direction is going to be crucial. That's what separates the good from the best. But you still need to worry about coordination. You still need to worry about stability, and you still need to worry about strength. So running backs and linebackers, a little bit more focus on that stability and strength than maybe the DBs and the wide receivers. And then the linemen, you got to focus on that coordination, that stability, and that strength. Those are your top three things that are going to make you a better lineman. But you still need speed and you still need change of direction. So you're still going to work on that stuff, just maybe not to the same extent. You're not going to be doing a whole bunch of sprints, or you shouldn't be doing a whole bunch of sprints, like 10-yard sprints, 20-yard sprints, 30-yard sprints, like the wide receivers and the DBs need to do. You should be doing something like a 5-yard sprint to focus on how fast you can move over those first couple steps, because those first couple steps are your game. Receivers need a little bit more top speed. DBs need to be able to react to that top speed. So we're working on all these components just in different variations. So how do I train more like an athlete? Well, your program needs to address all your specific needs. Okay. So if you're playing spring ball right now and it's about to end, talk to your coaches. What are they seeing on the field? What do you need to work on? Once you have the idea of what you need to work on, now you can start dialing things in, getting ready for the high school football season. If you're playing summer ball, try to dial things in right now. You should have an idea. You know if you're fast, you know if you're slow, you know if you're weak, you know if you're not stable, you know what you have issues with. Start addressing them, but don't just do cookie cutter programs. So don't just find something on the internet for football players and do it. Don't just watch videos on Instagram targeted at any football player. Build it specific to your needs. Personally, I like to break my off season into different phases of 4 to 6 week blocks, focusing on those needs. So at the start of the off season, we're always focused on strength. We're focused on max power, force development, trying to increase the foundation so that the bigger the foundation, the higher you can build the pyramid. So I think of it as a pyramid. So strength, max power, force production is the bottom. Then you go into explosive power, coordination, stability. Then you're going up to speed, change of direction, and then you get up to the top, and that's like getting on the field, getting after it in those drills. Okay. So start of the off season, strength, max power. Then we move into more explosive power, start to bring in some more speed stuff. And then as we get close to the season, we're dialing in that speed. We're dialing in that change of direction. We're dialing in the sport specific conditioning. We're not, you're still focusing on building strength throughout, but it's not as big of a focus. So as you get close to the season, you want to be focused more on moving fast versus lifting heavy. You can still do a bit of both. You can still do a bit of lifting heavy, but it shouldn't be the primary focus. You're not trying to build strength right now. As you get into the season, you want to be fast because you need to perform. You want to incorporate more full body movements to help build coordination. Okay. So at my gym, I don't have any machines. We don't use any machines. We're focused on barbell lifting, dumbbell lifting, and we have turf space for dynamic movements. So we don't want to do ISO work because when you're playing football, the whole body moves together. The feet need to be connected to the ground so that you can use your force, you can use your stability to your advantage. We want to incorporate more speed, agility, and change of direction work. So we're not just in the gym lifting. We're building that speed. We're doing speed sessions. We're doing agility sessions. We're doing change of direction work. We're going to talk about this in the next slide. We want to use conditioning that's specific to your sport. So we're focusing on your sport demands. As a football player, you're not going to be going for 5 minutes straight. You need to focus on 10 to 15 seconds of max intensity work. That's where you're going to be for 95% of the game. And then once again, we're focusing less on how much weight we're using and more on how you're moving the weight. Okay? So if there's one thing that you take from this, if you never work with me, if you don't give a shit about what I say, there's one thing you take from me, take focusing on how you move, not how much weight's on the bar. So if you're doing a squat and you feel like it's breaking down, just dial back the weight. That's what's going to help you get to the next level, as opposed to just grinding through with shitty form. The weight room is a tool for you to become a better football player. When you're on the field, it doesn't matter if you can squat 500 pounds or 20 pounds. It matters how you play. Obviously, if you're stronger and can move better, you're going to be in a better position. So, how often should I be training? The answer, it depends. The answer is always it depends. But it depends on how you're feeling. So, a lot of athletes I know, when they're not feeling the best, when they're feeling sick, they're going to be trying to get in the gym. That is a poor move. So, if you're starting to get sick, you're feeling shitty, stay out of the weight room. People go in, they try to lift anyways. It's going to screw up your immune system. You're going to be down and out for 2, 3, 4 days. When if you just had it taken the day off, maybe you could have gone the next day. So be aware how you're feeling. If you're coming off a game, get in that recovery session for sure, but don't push yourself. Depends on how much time you have. So as you get into season, it's going to be a lot tougher to get that training in because you're practicing, you have games, you have school, all that stuff. So try to be efficient with that stuff. And then it also depends on what you have available. So I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It snows from October until April or May or June. But if you don't have access to the field, then it's going to be tougher to do some of those change of direction sessions. However, there are always different things you can do to still be working on those skills. So an ideal situation as a varsity athlete, you want to have 3 lifts per week, 2 plyos, 2 to 3 speed sessions, 2 change of direction sessions, and 3 conditioning sessions. Now that sounds like a lot, but what if within those within those lifts, we have plyo work, we do a little bit of speed work, we do conditioning work. Okay. So in a 60-minute lift, if we're adding plyo exercises, maybe we don't need to do an extra plyo session. Maybe we can cut one of those plyo sessions out. The other thing is microdosing. So if we do 15-minute a speed session before the start of practice, then we're hitting that speed session. We don't need to spend an hour doing it. In fact, it's better if you can microdose throughout the week. So if you do 4 15-minute speed sessions, that's your hour of speed work, but you've done it 4 different days. So it's not super time consuming. It's actually going to help you more in the long run because you get more reps in and you're saving time. Okay. So try to be most efficient by putting them together, like lifts and plyos together and conditioning at the end. or speed work, change of direction work as you're going into practice, before you're going into practice is like a warm-up, conditioning at the end, whatever. Try to maximize your time and then microdose. So that's the end of it. Hopefully you learned something. Remember, if there's one thing to take away, focus on how you're moving, not how much you're moving. It's about how you move, not how much weight. That's what's going to elevate you, and make sure you're getting your speed work, your change of direction work, and your plyos in. Okay? The gym is a tool to make you a better athlete, but you also need to work on speed. You also need to work on change of direction. You also need to work on power, and you also need to work on conditioning.